Hi everyone, you're welcome to my Professor Note. This is Bhupesh Sharma. In this video, we will talk about the Middle English period. In this, we will talk about the initial phase of the Middle English period, which is your Anglo-Norman period, which is dated from the 1066 to the 1350. So this period started with the Norman conquest, when the Battle of Hastings took place in 1066, when William, the Duke of Normandy, came with his Norman French armies from French provinces and invaded the England. And from English side, English army were led by the Anglo-Saxon last king, Harold Godwinson, and he was defeated at Stamford Bridge in Yorkshire. And William, the Duke of Normandy, became William the Conqueror when he conquered the England. And with this Norman conquest, when these Norman came to England, William the Conqueror brought some radical changes. He introduced the land tenure and the military service, and he totally transformed the structure and the character of the churches in the England. He replaced these Anglo-Saxon bishops by the Anglo-Norman bishops, and the center of the culture and the learning was shifted from Winchester to the London. So these are some of the changes which took place after the Norman conquest. So another most important thing which took place during this period was the documentation of the Magna Carta in 1215. It was intended, this Magna Carta was intended to make peace between the barons and the king, because there was this King John. He was really cruel and known as one of the worst king in the history of England. He was really cruel. He imprisoned his own wife, he killed his own nephew and starved his opponent to the death, and also pulled the beards of the Irish chief. As weird was his activities, so there were many things he did. So he used to impose high tax, on these barons, and with this he used to pay his foreign war bills. And when they denied, he used to seize their properties, and then they say that he is not following any rule, so there must be a law for this. When they demanded the law, he denied, and then they captured the London, and he was forced to negotiate. And then King's clerk documented this Magna Carta document, and he signed. He was forced for that. But after that, it was called as Invalid Charter, as it's known as a Great Charter in English language. So it was called the Invalid Charter by the Pope of England during this period, and then the whole England once again plunged into civil war, and he died. The King John died of dysentery in 1216, and then the 9-year-old Henry III took to the throne, and once again this Magna Carta was reimposed. One of the most important legacy of this document is that everyone, including leader, must follow the law. This is the symbol of liberty, right? So Magna Carta, this is how it plays a most important role, and in this Anglo-Norman period, as we are still influenced, our law system is still influenced with this document. So another thing, if I talk in terms of this history and the social temper, is that the religion played the most important role. It was the Christian Europe at the time. The whole Europe was sharing the same religion. So the services of the churches were conducted in the Latin, as the head was the Roman bishop. So he was controlling, and then the people of England knew only the Middle English. They didn't know any Latin and French. These are the common people. So they thought that the life of the Christ and the saint must be depicted in a manner of these theatrical performances. At the very beginning, these churches say that this is immoral, but eventually it emerged as a a religious ritual that they start performing these theatrical performances at the very beginning at the churches, and at the very beginning only priest and pope used to act out these roles, but later it came out of this worship service and became more social thing. Even though laymen was taking part in it, these performances were staged on the wagon, so it was very easy to move from one place to another one. And then there arose this feeling of depicting and knowing the men's history from the day of creation to the day of final judgment. And then they start performing these incidents in a sequence, and they are called the cycles. And then these cycles were performed by the trade guilds, and for their further identification they were given the names according to the place where they were performed, like your York, your Coventry, your Chester, your Wakefield. So this is how you see that this literature is also emerging, also evolving from the religion. Even though 85% content of the whole literature was religion at the time, they used to write about religion. They were because their life was influenced by literature. At this time, whatever was happening around, whatever phenomena was happening, the reference was God, because there was lack of rational thinking, there was lack of this scientific thought, and churches were manipulating these people whichever they wanted, right? They were the one who translating the message of God to them, because the Bible, the official text, which was Vulgate Bible written in Latin, and these people don't know, right? So, and even though it was not very easy to have book during this period, because books were not printed, there was no printing press. It came later in the age of revival, in the age of Renaissance in England, and introduced by the William Caxton. So as we talk about the cultural thing, what was happening at the social level during this period, let's talk about the language transition. When this Norman conquest happened and this Norman came to England, French became the standard language. French became the standard language of the parliament, of the court of law, of the school and the municipalities, and the language of documentation and the chronicles was the Latin, and the language of common people was English, which came into the dark shade. But still there were activities were going on. The major transition which came in terms, primarily in terms of grammar only. At the very beginning, if you see, they used to add some word variation to the end of the lines to make a meaningful relationship between the sentence. But then there was an evolution, and there was then this prepositional construction. So these endings were replaced by the prepositional construction, because then there was evolution, grammatical thing was happening, there was a development happening in terms of this language, grammatical work was going on. So in terms of grammar, we saw a lot of changes in language was coming. And when 2 or 3 languages come together, we always see that then there is a variety. And when there is a variety, like for example, in the 12th century there was only one word, which is your ask for asking. It was in English. Then French came, they brought the question. Then the Latin brought this word called interrogate. So we have many words to say just the one thing. Okay, so this is how we can see that these changes are happening in terms of language here. Okay, so one of the most important thing, if we talk about vocabulary, as there are many questions asked from this from these words from where they are taken. Cow, sheep, these are some of the words which were used by these English farmers, right? But later these French people came, these Anglo-Norman, they were more interested to put these animals over their plate. They would love them to have served over their plates, and they give words like beef, pork, or mutton. Add some extra menu list to the restaurants. So this is some language transition we can see in this period. And then let's talk about the literature and some of the famous work of this period. One of the famous French epic, because as it was the French era in England, most the standard language was the French. So the French epic was your Chanson de Geste, which means the Song of Deeds. It was dedicated to the Charles the Great. And the background of this is that the Christian of France is having a struggle with this idol worshipper Muslim enemy, And the another work, the Ormulum, written by the Ormy. He was a monk. The another text during this period is the Chronicle of the European History. This is your Historiae Regum Britanniae, written by the George of Monmouth. It covers about 2,000 years about the history of the kings of Britain. And one of the famous woman poet of this period is the Maria de France. She wrote the Fables and dedicated them to the Henry II of the England. So these are some of the works were there, and even the works were written in the Middle English, they were very at the low level. They are not even though mentioned there. But one of the work which is there by the Layamon's Brut. Brut is the first English historical text we have in the English. So this is, you must remember, will be important from the exam point of view. So these are some of the work which were there, and the one work, how can I forget this? This is the Anglo-Norman prose work, which is really famous. It's a book of kings. There are two books. One is a part of the Hebrew Bible, and these two books is a part of the Old Testament, and it is about the history of Israel and Judah, right? So this is the only thing which you have to remember, and the authorship is unknown at the very beginning. Very few writers we know the name of. So I hope as we discuss these social background and the language transition, that how it happened, we talk about the literature. I hope you got to learn something from this video. If you got to learn, so please mention those things in the comment section below. So I hope you like this video, so make sure you like. If you want to share, so you can. If you want to subscribe, so you must do. So till then time, stay safe, have the discipline, show some consistency. It's an easy thing to qualify NET. It's not a big thing. So until then time, my Professor Note signing off.